Om Shanti. A very good evening to all the participants at today's session of Refreshing Sunday Evening Talk. We welcome all the participants as well as our today's speaker, Sister Barkavi. Welcome, sister. We welcome you virtually to Shanti Sarovar, Hyderabad. Our today's topic is very special given the very unpredictable times that we are living in. And before we head into that, I will give a short introduction about Sister. So, Sister Barkavi is a senior faculty with Brahma Kumaris. She is a talent management specialist working in Middle East and Africa. And she has been practicing Raj Yoga meditation for the past more than 20 years now. She is a facilitator for the living values in life skills and in young adults. She has been facilitating different sessions, workshops in various countries, and we are very privileged to have her with us in our series of these sessions. So refreshing Sunday evening talks have been a regular program in Shanti Sarovar, Hyderabad. It used to be in person, but has been continuing online since the pandemic started. And Shanti Sarovar is a very special, serene place located in the IT hub of Hyderabad. It is the oasis of peace and has been one of the biggest retreat centers of Brahma Kumaris, and it works relentlessly in serving peace and purpose into the lives of people with the principles of Rajaga meditation on this campus. So we welcome Sister Barkavi to help us build resilience through silence. I hand over this virtual stage to you, and we are glad you are with us.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Lovely, for that lovely introduction, and I hope I am audible and very clear.
Yes, sister.
And I am very, very happy to be here meeting the lovely family from Shanti Sarovar. Those who have joined in Zoom, thank you for being here with me today to enjoy this beautiful evening. I hope you had a restful day. If not, very soon we'll have a refreshing evening. And I also welcome those who have joined through YouTube, though I can't see everyone, but a very, very warm welcome to everybody. And I'm really, really happy to see you all. So before we begin, as we are going to go into a journey of how to build resilience through silence, I will be sharing some of the best developed mini meditation practices. So we'll start with just a minute silence so that we can all get into the present moment and take the full benefit of today's lesson. So I welcome you all to join me with just a minute silence.
become free of hearing, seeing, doing. Just know. Now I am in peace. I am serene. I am quiet.
Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to ask my dear participants today, you can use the annotation tool for this little activity, and those who are on YouTube can put your messages there. What resilience means to you? Among these words, you can choose one word, or it may be more than one word, and let me know what resilience, which word resembles resilience to you. You can even put your own word, just one word or two words. So go ahead, pick up one word. Those who can use annotation tool, you can scroll up and you'll see annotation tool next to the remote control. And you can also put it on the chat box. And I can see who's connecting any word with resilience. What resilience means to you? You can unmute and answer, write it on the chat. Challenging, self-love. Usha said self-love, okay. Strength, Gargi said strength.
Inner peace.
Strength. Inner peace, yes. Inner strength. Lovely. Let me see if anyone's on the YouTube have put any messages. Though I can't see them, I hope the messages are coming. Withstand, that's lovely. Suresh Kumar says withstand. Flexibility. Good. So while there are a lot of answers to what resilience means to you, let us see how combinations of all these answers are going to give us a broader understanding of what resilience is. Bounce back from negative experience and disturbances. All right. Thank you, Srinivas, for that. So my own true test came at the age of 7. The main attachment figure in the family died suddenly and instantly. I was just 7 years old, and that was my father, sparing me that pain just in the blink of an eye. Everything was gone. I woke up with a new identity. Instead of being resilience, here I was grieving as a daughter, not knowing who I am, what I'm going to do with life. I was completely lost. There was some sort of emptiness inside me, my inner world smashed. And I started to search for answer. I needed that journey to understand what has happened around me, to get through that pain that I was going through, the longing. And right at that time, I got introduced to Raj Yoga meditation journey with my mother. So I visited the center where I learned that silent being in silence gave me this inner peace to my mind, and it started giving a sense of purpose to my life. It was at that time a greatest necessity for me and the greatest healer. I started integrating silence into my day-to-day life as and when I started knowing more about how to go into that stillness. It wasn't easy. It was a brave decision, and started discovering lots of benefits from that as and when I started experiencing that deep silence. I must say that it was a challenge for me in that path, because when I consciously decide to be in silent, that moment, my past habits, my belief system started resisting it unconsciously. But with intentional, deliberate, ongoing effort, silencing the mind gave me the ability to heal myself by putting myself in touch with the real purpose of life. Kept on reminding me, what am I at the core? And settle into that peacefulness from that noisy mind that I was going through. A lot of thoughts was running around. I couldn't understand, which I was trying to understand. And with the practice of silence, it started to give a purpose of life. Managing the things that I can't control and accepting what I can or I have available, this is a very vital learnable skill for resilience. Now, as you all know, death, it doesn't have any discipline. It just comes at any time. But learning to be resilient helps us to respond to overcome circumstances in a better way. And right there, while I thought everything was going peaceful and ease and grace, the challenge did not stop at that time. When I just started my first year in college, that's when the major tsunami hit happened. And I was in Sri Lanka at that time. So that was my first year. I just registered for studies. And then this major natural disaster happened. So what I did, I put aside my studies on hold, and I started working with my community in Lanka to help them through that post-quake trauma, I would say. Teaching them the ways of thinking and acting that can boost resilience. Because at that time, all people needed was a sense of peace because they had lost everything. It was a global, I think majority of the world got affected by the tsunami hit. So I thought this was my moment to give out all that I learned to good use. And I can tell you now that you can rise from adversity and navigate during tough times by being in that most inspiring place, the present place. And what is that present place? That's my own precious place of silence. And that brings tremendous amount of inner strength and a greater shift in your thinking, in your acting, in ways that it can help you to come back and face uncertainty with resilience. Because in silence, when we go and sit in solitude, before even we start to focus on the thoughts or what is happening in the mind, we need to be still and develop that inner strength. And that gives us a purpose to develop. When you go help, you develop this attitude of go help, a unique attitude in that silence. And it's a capacity to adapt to circumstances and cope with positive attitude. I can tell you all the knowledge, but what is ultimately the key to resilience is inner strength. And how we build that inner strength or inner power is through meaningful silence. That's very, very important. So today, I am going to share with you how silence can be a great tool I may say it's a tool now, but ultimately it becomes part of your life. It becomes very natural for your life. But for now, it is a very great tool to build resilience. So now, before we begin, I will take you through many meditation practices throughout these sessions. Reason being, for us to practice and enjoy that moment of stillness, put a break in the middle of that learning, come to the present, because many thoughts might linger around your mind. So it's just a matter to put a break. So I welcome you all again. So sit, relax your body completely and gaze inside your mind. Just gaze. Start to observe all those thoughts that's lingering there. Imagine a box and try to put whatever thoughts that is coming in your mind. Be it thought about the past, thought about nurturing a relationship, or it could be even what am I going to do right after this session. Put all those thoughts in that box and just be still. Set the past aside, set the future aside, and let us come to the moment of present. Just make your mind an empty landscape. Just empty, nothing there at the moment. Only a peaceful state. Let the rest set aside. Thank you. So how this silence works, how this silence helps us to develop resilience within us. Now let us observe a day in your life from morning till evening and see how I am exposed to and how I react to things. If you see the whole day, and then if we look at ourselves, how many times have I got angry? How many times have I got irritated? Within me, inside me, it could be externally, it could be very subtly. Different emotions comes in different ways, multitudes of ways. Just observe the whole day and see how many times that I got disturbed. These are the accumulations within me. The number of times that my emotions get disturbed, this becomes the accumulations within me that I am holding on to it. And if I see myself another day, 70 to 80% similar to that stage is what I am going to be. So this is how we become master of accumulations of unwanted things. Now I have to replace, it's time that I have to replace this irritation with silence. It's time to experience this silence. We have learned about silence, but now it's time to experience it. How can I do that? One of the best developed practices is, we call it traffic control in Raja Yoga meditation, where during your whole day, you take tea break, we take coffee break, sometimes we go to just to refresh ourselves or sit down and take a moment of deep breath. Similarly, aim to have simple silence routine. We are all working daily, be it at home, be it in the office, or whatever that you are doing, every day we are doing actions. So let me observe what is happening inside my mind. Reflect. Every 1 hour, 1 minute, keep this as your aim. Let me bring silence within me. And this accumulation of 1 minute, bringing back your natural stage of silence. This is one of the key things for me to regain my energy. Now, if you take the ocean, for example, it's why do people like the ocean? Ocean is so noisy. Still, people take a lot of energy from it. Why is that? Because the vastness of the ocean opens up your feelings. If you just go sit in front of the ocean, it opens up your feelings of distance. You're breathing your vision of distance, and that builds up resilience. This is why people like to have open space, not closed space, and that comes under freedom. Now, this observation will help me to go into that inner space. And what is that inner space within me? That's the moment of stillness and silence. Whenever I want, we are surrounded by a world of noise every day, every single hour. And within me, whenever I want, when I'm surrounded with this silence, I'm always aware of this inner noise that is in my mind. We have to be aware that we generate. Externally, there is sound, but we have to be aware of what is happening in my mind internally. What kind of sound I'm making? Is it a melody or is it a chaos? It's called the inner noise that we generate, be it the experience of the previous day, unfinished problems, relationships, that's something that have gone wrong. So by learning to keep aside the past and the future and to build the ability to be here at the moment, we can achieve resilience. I don't need to wait for a circumstance to happen in order to achieve resilience. The accumulation of this 1 minute silence will help me at the time of need. We have savings, money in the bank for what? Because it helps me at the time of need. Why do we feel emptiness in our mind? Because we have not accumulated this inner power. So it's such a treasure, the accumulation of silence. It creates that space and the time between me and the circumstances. So there is a space that is created between me and the circumstances. And now, how do we respond to it? Now we have now seen what is the method to accumulate the silence throughout our day. We can all start from today itself. And now let us see how can we respond. Once we accumulate, how can we respond? We have to first acknowledge that it exists. It is not that I am running away from the situation. I have to focus on how to overcome, or to rather than fighting it, I have to understand how can I overcome this. Because we shape the look of our outcome. So if you take silence, it gives us the ability to merge and adjust to situations. When there are circumstances in front of us, it will merge and it will adjust according to the situation. And we come to this stage where we let people be or whatever they are, but the result and outcome is still making the most out of that circumstances. That's what the accumulation of silence is going to give you. Now, if you take the water, for example, and if you pour the water into any container, it will take the shape of that container. The water will not say, or it will not blame you, like, why are you like this? Why are you in this shape? Why did you put me into this? It just adapts to that shape of that container. And then it makes the most use of it. So this characteristic should not be considered as softness, because water can also put a hole in the rock. And this is what resilience is. Without experiencing the pain, it's not necessarily that we have to always experience the pain, but with complete understanding, if we go through the circumstances, we will gain the benefit of building that inner silence. Resilience is not just the capacity to recover from circumstances, but it also means you have to be in solitude. Why do we have to be in solitude? To get through the circumstances with understanding. It gives us that space to understand what is going on and to make a clear decision. So with resilience, there is a better way to face it because we are accumulating silence. If you take the eagle, for example, it doesn't like a noisy place. The eagle goes high up above a mountain. And when it gets weak, it goes up high above to strengthen itself by going into solitude. It needs that height and that silence. And then what eagle does is it builds strength and come back fresh, refresh to possibly take its prey or whatever it could be. So every single element you see, before we create a project, before we get into an operation theater, before we start preparing a slide or cooking, there is already in the mind a moment of silence is going on. We are planning in silence. We are creating space before we make a decision. So what is the way forward after this pandemic? What did we learn from this pandemic? Nobody knows because there are multiple scenarios, there are multiple forecasts. Every single day, it seems it's a different situation and we are taking it step by step as and when it goes. So if you see adversity, it doesn't discriminate. It just comes. It's a collective adversity that we are facing today. So in this adversity, we have to see how creative I can be. I can manage so that it brings a better version of me, which can overcome all these things and find solutions. It is this ability within me that awakens the resilience. How to build up your inner resilience in there. So we need the power. Now we all have the knowledge, the learning, but how do I build the power to build that resilience? It's through solitude. It's through the practice of silence. And it need not to be a long practice of silence. Just like I mentioned earlier, a minute, an hour. When you silence the mind, it will give you solutions. So silence is actually equivalent to solutions. There's a lot of things that happens in silence. When you go into solitude, it gives you solutions. What do we do in silence? We start to reflect on our thoughts. We observe, how do you see? We start to respect our abilities, our capacity to deal with circumstances. So that self-belief and the faith has to be there. You have to start to understand that you have the capacity to deal with the situation, deal with the circumstances with inner resilience. Now, if we want to become resilient, this is called your inner strength, the strength of your consciousness, the strength of yourself, your actual self. So it's time that we start investing in silence. Just like how we invest in our bank account, we have to start investing in silence. It's called the inner power. Now, when you sit in solitude, you start to reflect. And what happens at that time? There is a self-awareness that builds there. And you start to develop courage to implement it and experiment it. It's like a silence. We are all silent scientists. In silence, we start to experiment ourselves. So picture, just imagine in your mind, what happens when you are in silence? Makes the mind, number one, more stable. And then it gives you time. You have this space and time to decide. When we go into solitude, sit still, just be still and be silent. We don't become victim of our outer world. So the inner silence is like a shield of protection. It protects me from becoming a victim. And what happens is it makes you think of solutions in a way that it's based on your words, and actions will reflect on that. Now let me present how it works. If you see here, there is our mind. And then when we go into deeper solitude and when we sit in silence, inner solitude, that creates that space. And in that space, we slowly start to build inner strength, the resilience, the power to have resilience. At that time, automatically, very less thoughts appear in your mind. And these thoughts will be solution oriented. And even the words that you speak out will be solution oriented. And actions is always focused towards solutions. Now, why is there an arrow that is turning back from outer world to inside? So first, what happens? We do not become victims of the situation or circumstances. We don't get influenced by that. For that to happen, I have to go first step that I need to do is that go into solitude, become comfortable in being silent. And that is the time, the only moment that you get to have that space to come out with strength so that you seek solutions. That is why it is said, whatever is happening in my mind, that mirrors my words and actions. So there is authenticity in it. So always step one is to gaze inside your mind, go into solitude. This is what meaningful silence is. It gives us space. So there is a delay before we respond to situation. It's very, very important that we understand this so that we do not react to situation. Now, when I say reaction, when we go into silence, there's a beautiful thing that happens. Reaction is resisting the problem or resisting the situation. We think we can escape, or sometimes even denial comes, or sometimes we don't want to confront the situation because a lot of things are happening around. But it's time that I want to start experiencing silence. For that, I need to change the approach. So more than going into the detail of the problem, right now, let me focus on the solution. Because solving an issue is much better than going into details, because right at the moment, what we need is solution. So still mind is extraordinary. It's active, not that the mind is blank. It's very active. It's free in the present without any conflicting thoughts. Our words and our actions is the mirror of our thoughts. So you start to think less, and these thoughts will be very high level thoughts. You start to create a thought that can counter yourself from that negativity. And it will be clear thoughts so that your words will become solution oriented and your action also will be solution oriented. Now, let us practice a few minutes of silence so that we understand how to make ourselves mature in silence, which means we have to be comfortable in being silent. Silence also gives a sense of maturity. So again, I welcome you all to practice along with me. I'm going to put a picture here. As you can see that there is a candle in front of you. You can see the light. Try to focus on the light that is in front of you. And just like that candle is lightness, just gaze into your mind and imagine that light in your mind, that candle of light in your mind. Relax. Relax your body completely. And gaze inside your mind. What can I see? What are the thoughts that's going on there? Let me
Om
be
Shanti.
still.
I am.
Let me enjoy this moment of silence. It's a sacred space. My mind is a sacred space. It's a silent space. Take a deep breath and let it out. Take a deep breath again and let it out. We are living in such a surrounding that we may lose our inner peace with the circumstances. To recharge ourselves, it's important to withdraw and experience our own silence in that beautiful space in the mind. Step back, withdraw, and recharging is the key to face a demanding lifestyle. Just like we refresh our body, we charge our phones, we also need to recharge ourselves with silence, with powerful, positive, and determined thoughts. Let us practice this beautiful space in our mind known as the silent space. To experience silence, I want to allow my thoughts to slow down. Just be still and think that I am peace. Let the thoughts flow. Let it pass by. Just hold on to the thought that I am peace. Reduce the noise around it in your mind. Let them pass by and hold on to this one thought that I am peace. I am courageous. your thoughts in the mind begins to slow down. Just like in the traffic, the vehicles on the roads starts to slow down when it approaches the red light. So stop, observe your mind, gaze into your mind in that beautiful space. Imagine it is surrounded by peace that is coming from your own inner energy. The moment of my thought is less because I hold on to the thought of peace. The peace you seek is already within you because at the core, this is what I desire. Therefore, this is what I am. Return to the real you, that is, I am peace. Be with the thought. Hold on to that thought. And as my mind begins to experience this peace, the desires begin to reduce. The noise of the past, the noise of the future begins to reduce. And I start to feel comfortable in that space of silence. Let me now enter into that space, my own inner space. Bring my awareness up towards my entire body. Focus your attention in the center of your forehead and imagine yourself as the light, just like the candle light, that sparkling light that emits the beautiful energy of the peace throughout the whole body. And this sacred space in your mind, you begin to enjoy the silence. I am peace. I am in my original state of natural self. I am here in my shield of protection, my own space that acts as a shield, the armor which does not allow the external circumstances to disturb me in any way. I free myself from all fear, anger, irritation, because I am originally the peaceful being that I have always desired for. Just be with this thought. I am an energy of peace. I am the pure energy surrounded by the armor of silence, protection. Thank you for joining in that silence meditation. So today, I'd like everyone to have an aim starting from right after this session to start building or start accumulating these mini meditations. You might be, the reason I presented that candle in front of you is for you to be aware of your surroundings, but you are working internally towards that silence. So people around you may not be aware what is happening because the effort that you are making is not visible. You are going to have a cup of tea, but at that brink of a moment, you can experience that silence. You're driving, you're in traffic, that moment, just a minute, get into that silence. So develop that likingness towards silence before you get into the thoughts. While you're going to bed, if you don't get sleep, sometimes you're turning to your right side, to your left side, there's a lack of sleep issue. So at that time, just switch on to that moment of silence. Start liking that silence because you are experimenting. You are a silent scientist. You're experimenting with that silence and see how your day goes. How was your mood throughout the day? At the end of the day, what happened? What was my thoughts? What did my mind tell to me? And start deciding what is it that you want to create in that space of silence. So always, it's not possible for you to set aside, go into the room of quietness and then meditate. It is not possible because many of you would have a 24/7 routine, like constantly doing something, working. Sometimes there is no rest. Sometimes a lot of external negative energy may come. But at the same time, it is also vital to important that you have the capacity to overcome that, because in silence you are building a huge magnanimous energy of that reservoir inside you, that armor of protection. And that is when you can combat, you build that inner strength which is sustainable. Yes, we go into a nature, a park, an ocean, it is helping, but what can help you consistently, that you can have that inner power, the strength to face the circumstances. It is this strength that you are building in silence, solitude, that is going to be sustainable. So at the time of need, you actually may not need to go into a state of meditation or state of silence. That is when you will see the fruit of it. Now you will start making the effort. So we don't need to wait for the circumstances to come to test our resilience. We already start to make the effort of getting into the silent. It's not that you're going to become an introverted person or someone who's away from people, because inside a lot of meaningful things are happening to you. You're trying to compartmentalize your mind and put it into an order and understand that beautiful inner space of silence within you. So it's a very beautiful, meaningful silence. And with that, I'd also open the chat box for people to have any questions. If any of you, please feel free to ask. You can put it on the chat box and Loveneet can read it from YouTube if you can see. Yes, I can see somebody raising the hand. You can feel free to ask. I'll give a few minutes pause so that anyone can ask questions.
So as sister said, we can ask any questions we have, and you can write it in the chat box or unmute and ask yourself. Sister, we have one question, a couple of them in the chat box. How to come out of the silence of mind?
I don't think I understood the
Mr.
question.
Gargi, can you maybe give a little more details? You can either unmute and ask.
just wanted to ask that when we went deeper into our mind, like for instance, just now, and then when you said, ki, okay, we are out of it now. I mean, how can you come out in that instant? I mean, does it take a while or does it need you to do something?
Okay, all right. So you mean to say when you are in silence, immediately how can I come out of it?
Yeah, correct.
All right, okay.
That's
So
right. That's what I asked. That's what I asked. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, yes. Can hear you.
Could you understand my question? When you go
Yes,
deeper,
yes. We need to come out slowly. Yes.
when you go deep into your mind's recess, then how do you like
Yes.
suddenly come out of it? Do you need to do
You are
something?
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. That is why right after silence, we need to come out slowly. It is not very instant because you have accumulated a tremendous amount of strength in you. So we need to come out slowly and step by step. So that is when it will give you the power to respond with solutions. You are absolutely right. So we need to come out of that silence very slowly. So BK Rao has a question, I think. He can also address it. I see him raising the hand.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
Very good lecture. I am not having any question. I want one clarification.
Yes.
Therefore, yes, you told repeatedly silent will help. No doubt about it. I agree. Endorse. There is no doubt about it. A situation will arise that a man has committed that he will complete so and so date, and he is a highly qualified man, and I am silent. I went and asked him, when are you going to finish the job? Already I paid 90% payment. He told first so and so date. I came immediately without talking anything. I came. Second time I went. He has not completed. He has given another date. From third time onwards, he is silent. At that situation, what I should do? I am also silent. I am not saying anything to him. I am silent. What I should do in such a situation?
Okay. So
you got my point, I think, sister?
Yes, yes, I got your point. I got your
Thank
point.
you. Om Shanti.
So,
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. So what happens is in meditation mode, what happens is it is not physically, you are not replying to that person. Yes, you definitely have to respond to that person. So what we need to think here is when I still the mind, as I said earlier, it's extraordinarily active. So once you make your mind extraordinarily active, you learn to kind of connect your senses to the source of the quality in which you are going to respond to that person. So you need a decision to be made at that time, but that decision should be the right decision for that person to respond to you. So what we are trying to understand here is that when I reflect and respond, how do I respond is what matters. Yes, the person has not done the job, he's asking, he's postponing it. So that is not the moment to be silenced. That is the moment for you to make the right decision. That is when the silence should actually help you. So when somebody, you are in action, you definitely have to speak. But how do I build up that resilience and act with clarity or response with the clear decision is what is important, because sometimes it's very difficult to make the decisions. We have to ask for it, but peacefully inside. You have to ask for it, but are you peaceful inside when you're asking for it? Ask yourself that simple question. We ask, but am I asking with peace? What is that going on between me and that person internally? That is what we need to ask. So that stillness in you should not get distracted while you are responding to the person, because in silence, what is happening is you're shutting down the senses. Moment you get affected, you're lost. The moment you get affected, we become lost. There is a bit of a friction between me and that person. So what you need to do is you need to not get affected by that individual's behavior. Instead, if you don't lose that stillness and respond with peaceful, then definitely there will be a clear purpose. Take care of your inner self is what we need to understand here. To build resilience, we have to take care of our inner self. That is what we need to understand here. So, because that inner self, no one can disturb you. Is there any questions?
Sister, one
One
thing.
question, sister.
Yeah.
Sister, it is not completed. No, I requested him. I never silent means I request you. I paid 90% payment, 10% also I'm ready to pay. But he is a ISB student, he is a professional, he is a doctor. Then he shifted to this line, interiors, and it is a contract of around 80 lakhs. But he's not doing actually. I repeatedly requested. Finally, during this process, that man was left without doing job. Finally, I got it done through that one. I
Okay.
lost. No, I'm telling experience. Even though silence, it helps, no
Okay.
doubt. But there are people, they don't respond actually. They will do like that only. Educated people. That's what I want to
Yes.
bring to your attention.
Yes, and why that is very good. Attention. I like the word attention. Why, you know? Because the first step that we have to observe is attention. In that circumstances, do I have the resilience to accept that situation? Am I affected? Am I a master? You are right. Circumstances will come. You are absolutely right, brother. But in that circumstances, how is my inner self? Am I affected? You are the master. Am I affected? So your resilience is important to face that circumstances peacefully, because that is what resilience is. You are absolutely right. Circumstances will come, different people, different mindset, different background, everything will happen. But how am I responding to that situation? If someone is consistently in a resistant mode, how am I responding to it? Am I responding peacefully or am I responding in chaos myself? Do I have resilience at that moment to face that situation peacefully? Assertive, not aggressive. There's a difference between assertive and aggressiveness. Yes, I am assertive, but I am with peace. I am assertive. I am giving clear direction. I am giving a sense of purpose to these people who are working under me. That is a true leader. I'm a resilient leader who gives clear purpose with that silence mind. So silence will definitely give you that maturity. So don't you, there's
One
also a
sister.
question that you need to ask. Thank you. Sometimes when we choose a person, from a talent perspective, I'm telling also a mix of spirituality. When we choose a resource, remember one thing, no resource is a bad resource. It is where we place them and how we sustain them is important. Don't you think the decision, sometimes we have to reflect on the decisions that we make. Have I made the right decision at the beginning? So what this power of silence does is it gives you a clear thinking that you will already see the outcome of your decision. So from a job perspective, this is how I need to address it. Sometimes I need to reflect on my decision making. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
One question, sister.
So
How I have
yes.
two questions, sister.
Yeah.
How
Let's keep
how
it.
to make this silence continuously? And one more question.
Yeah.
I know that I talk to myself. How can
Yes.
I know that I could talk to God?
Okay. So
Are my questions clear, sister?
Yes, very clear. How do you want to maintain the silence and how do you want to connect with that supreme in that silence? So what happens is, let us take for an example. Now I feel a bit
Yes,
of
yes, sister.
frustration. I feel a bit irritation inside. So at that moment, what you need to do is you need to stop for a moment and become still and silent. Immediately do not respond to that emotion that is disturbing you. Stop that moment. Observe, become silent just at that moment. Do not reply immediately, because whatever that reply comes is affected by the emotion. So don't hold on to the bad feeling. Instead, visualize or free yourself first. That is one thing that's important. Initial method is traffic control, like I said. The mini meditation I mentioned at the early stage, that's why we are just giving just a minute meditation, not that 10 minutes, because you really can't hold on to yourself to that long. You will not be able to be authentic to yourself. So free yourself, initialize from today, have the aim that I have to start making slowly practicing this mini meditation when I'm having a cup of coffee, as I said, tea, or you're going to a break, just walking towards the office, to home, to drop your child to school, to go to the hospital, to attend a patient. Use any moment in that hour. Slowly you'll find yourself getting comfortable in silence. Initialize this method of traffic control in your mind, and then slowly it is challenging, because as I said, even when I started initially, when I faced the circumstances of the death, it was not easy. It is challenging because we have an unconscious mind that the past habits and the the past will come and influence it. But by slowly building this traffic control practice, if you stabilize yourself in peace, you can listen to the Supreme. Because without a deeper silence, a supreme silence within yourself, you cannot connect to the Almighty, the ocean of silence, so to say. So that first build your silence, become comfortable, and then you connect to the ocean of silence. Let it go, it doesn't matter, let it be. As you open fully, you stretch yourself fully, and then repeat following that words of silence to yourself by having no noise. When you're completely silent, first is stillness before going into thoughts. Then you address your thoughts. And when there's complete silence, in that silence, you can hear the Supreme. Because you don't have any noise. By having noise, you cannot listen to God. If you stabilize yourself peacefully, you can listen to God. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, sister.
And thank you all for being here along with me. And I really hope have this aim. It's time to experience it. It's time to become embodiment of silence. The silence means we are becoming mature in silence. We are becoming comfortable, and imagine there's a lot of things happening inside. It's meaningful. It's very, very meaningful, because you're going to come out as a different person to face the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Om
So
Shanti.
it was wonderful that you made us experience the minutes, the beautiful moments of silence, which can be used as a tool when we are practicing, and later can be a part of our personality. So we hope our participants will try to use these tools more often, and then see how it changes them, how it changes their response to the different situations. So with this wonderful session with Sister Barkavi, we will be coming to the end of today's Sunday evening talk. So before we close, so all the participants are encouraged, if they have not known or not taken the 7 days Raj Yoga meditation course, they can enroll in the virtual online Hindi or Telugu Raj Yoga meditation course that would be conducted via Shanti Sarovar. You will find more details via WhatsApp, which are our circulation groups, or on our website www.shantisarovar.org. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where all the session recordings can also be found. And next Sunday, we will know more about Navratri, the festival of the goddesses, and what significance it holds in our life today. So I hope you all will join us at the same time and same platform. Hope to see you all, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much, sister, for this beautiful session. Om Shanti.